This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. The parents of a 1-year-old baby have been charged with manslaughter. Winnipeg police say this investigation into the little girl's death revealed she had high levels of the drug fentanyl in her system. The CBC's Alana Cole reports.
Winnipeg police say last March, a man called 911 after his 1-year-old became unresponsive. Today, nearly a year later, police announced that both parents of that little girl were arrested this past Friday. They're charged with manslaughter. The little girl's name is Hannah Boulette. Police say first responders were called to a home on Stella Avenue March 23rd, that they administered CPR and the baby was taken to hospital where she was pronounced dead. Police say the child abuse unit started investigating. First, the parents were arrested for criminal negligence causing death, but released. Police say it was the results of autopsy and toxicology reports that later found the child's death was caused by high levels of fentanyl intoxication. Constable Claude Chansey says investigators believe the parents knew Hannah had been exposed to fentanyl, that they waited for hours before calling for help, and that they weren't upfront with information about what happened.
That goes to the story that was provided to investigators. So when the parents were interviewed, they provided some explanation to the circumstances that were not truthful. And again, that forms part of the investigation, but that also forms the basis of providing the Crown with the details of investigation which brought the authorization of the manslaughter charges.
The parents were arrested at their home on the 100 block of Mackenzie Street. Police have identified them as 38-year-old Gary Daniel Adrian Bruce and 37-year-old Sabrina Faye Boulette. Chansey says police have seen cases like this. Just last month, Winnipeg police charged a man with criminal negligence. He says a 2-year-old boy ingested fentanyl. In that case, the child was rushed to hospital and required several doses of naloxone, but survived.
We know our society right now has a substance abuse problem. The fact of the matter is we still need to protect our children. So whether or not you have a drug problem, an alcohol problem, what have you, if you have children in your care, your first responsibility is their safety.
Police say in this case, the accused are in custody. A statement from the Manitoba Advocate for Children and Youth says it's devastating any time a child dies, and that the circumstances around Hannah's death reaffirms the need for action on a comprehensive mental health and addiction strategy. Alana Cole, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A Brandon woman says she's devastated by the federal government's decision to delay expanding access to medical assistance in dying, known as MAID, to those with mental illness. As CBC's Zubina Ahmed reports, the woman says she feels discriminated against.
Kathy Van Buskirk is living with complex mental disorders. For more than 20 years, medications helped her. But those treatments haven't worked in 5 years.
My illness causes me grievous amounts of pain and suffering, just as someone who suffers a physical one. But at least they could be offered MAID. But my suffering is indefinite, and my government wants to prolong that suffering.
Eligibility for MAID was set to expand in March for people with severe mental illness. But Federal Health Minister Mark Holland's new legislation will delay the expansion of MAID until 2027. He said the move was needed until Canada's healthcare system is ready.
I feel that the government's discriminating against me, and it's bad enough that there's still so much stigma surrounding mental illness. The government's making it even worse by not recognizing and not including us in MAID.
Van Buskirk says MAID would allow her to die on her terms and end the pain she lives with every day.
My brain doesn't heal. It doesn't make serotonin anymore, the chemical that you need to feel good. It's no longer able to do that. And so I feel that profound sense of loss and sadness every day of my life.
Dr. Jitendra Sareen is the head of the University of Manitoba's Psychiatry Department. He says it will take more than 3 years for the appropriate clinical standards to be in place.
In Canada, we really need to invest more in mental health and addiction services. As a country, we don't invest as much as other countries.
According to a shared health spokesperson, when MAID came into effect in June 2016, the province saw 36 written requests for the service and 24 deaths. In 2023, that number had grown to 366 requests and 236 deaths. Health Canada reported 13,241 people received medically assisted deaths in 2022, a 31.2% jump over 2021. Van Buskirk says she attempted suicide 3 times. She does not want to put her family through that trauma again, but now she feels she's out of options. Zubina Ahmed, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Some First Nations leaders in Manitoba are speaking out about the safety of lodgings for medical patients from remote communities. The issue has entered the spotlight after recent incidents at the Marlborough Hotel in Winnipeg. And as CBC's Emily Brass reports, other Winnipeg establishments are taking a more family-centered approach to medical accommodations.
The Marlborough Hotel has been getting a lot of attention recently after a widely shared video showed a young First Nations woman zip-tied in the lobby while security waited for police. Officers are now investigating and the hotel is currently closed. Meanwhile, the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs withdrew its business from the Marlborough. Many First Nations people come to Winnipeg for medical services not available in their communities, like surgery or dialysis. And since they're hundreds of kilometers from home, they have to stay in hotels. It made us wonder, how does the system work? Indigenous Services Canada says it reimburses people, or they can choose from a list of 31 Winnipeg establishments that offer direct billing. I showed the hotel list to Chief Angela Levisser of Nisitchewayasik Cree Nation, north of Thompson.
And there's a Marlborough Hotel.
Yeah. What do you think when you see that on this list?
I feel like throwing up.
Levisser stayed in Winnipeg when she had surgery and before she was chief. She doesn't remember being offered many choices by ISC.
There's no consideration for the safety of our people, especially our women, our girls, our two-spirit relatives. It's just, where can we save money? Where can we find the cheapest, accommodations possible, knowing full well that many of these hotels are downtown, which is dangerous. A lot of them have cockroaches, bed bugs. They're filthy, very dirty.
NCN has its own medical receiving home for members of that First Nation staying in Winnipeg for treatment. Levisser says those who try to book their own hotels can face barriers.
The majority of hotels want a credit card. Have you ever been to a hotel that didn't ask for a credit card? Our people are forced to stay in the hotels that have either no damage deposit, low damage deposit, and do not require a credit card. So this is why they are forced to stay in hotels that literally put their lives at risk.
Indigenous Services Canada says bookings are based on hotel availability. It encourages people to ask their own First Nation for help finding accommodations before leaving their community. ISC says its Manitoba call center operates 24/7, and people staying in hotels can speak with a First Nations agent if they have concerns or want to relocate. ISC says it won't cover any damages, and damage deposits are between the patient and the hotel.
This is where our cafeteria is.
Some of the places on the ISC list are different from regular hotels. Burnell Place opened last October. It has a cafeteria serving hot meals and food to go for those spending the day in appointments. Rooms are designed so families can stay together. They have their own bathrooms, there's laundry and gathering spaces, and security around the clock. Gwen Flett says she and a partner started the business because of what happened to her as a young patient from St. Teresa Point in a big city for the first time.
My first experience was, oh wow, this is amazing. We don't have that here. Look at this Then later on, you start feeling a little, I feel like lost. Sometimes you just stay in your room because you don't know what to do or you're scared. So we wanted to make it feel like they don't have to worry about anything. There's a friendly face and friendly people in this establishment that they can go to with any problems they need help with.
The staff are all Indigenous. Most of them speak Ojibwe, Cree, Oji Cree, or Saulteaux. Mary Bear works at the front desk, and she helps guests navigate the city and the medical system.
I talk to the doctors, I talk to the nurses, I talk to the pharmacies. Well, a family came here and stayed with us, and they were wondering, are we going to go home or what's going to take place? We told them, says everything is going to be okay. We're here for you, and so it makes it a home away from home.
Indigenous Services says it's open to working with First Nations on more culturally appropriate lodging. Emily Brass, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Picking someone up at Richardson International Airport just got a lot easier. The Winnipeg Airport's authorities created what it calls a cell phone lot just east of the airport. It officially opened this weekend. You can park there for free and just wait for your traveler to call you and say, I'm here, I'm ready to go. Then you can move and pick them up at the arrivals doors. Michelle Rosé at the Winnipeg Airport's authority says this is a safer alternative to what people have been doing until now when they just want to swing by and pick someone up.
Circling around a couple times or parking in a place where maybe you shouldn't be parking, you're able to use this parking lot free of charge. And when your traveler comes down the escalator, picks up their luggage, heads to the arrivals curb, they can call or text you, and you can kind of be there within a couple seconds to pick them up and be on your way.
Rosé says the lot is divided into a section for taxis and Ubers, for ride-sharing vehicles, and then there's one for cell phone parking. He says for safety, people are asked to stay in their vehicles while they wait. A 43-year-old man's death is being investigated as a homicide. Winnipeg police say Charles Danny Chartrand died after he was found unresponsive in an apartment on Fountain Street shortly after 3 in the morning Saturday. Just hours earlier, there was also a fire in a suite of that same building, but police say the two incidents don't appear to be related. Anyone with information or video surveillance is asked to call Crime Stoppers or the Winnipeg Police Homicide Unit. 17-year-old Peyton Keeler loves playing basketball. In fact, she loves a lot of sports, but that's unusual. Here in Canada, most teenage girls don't get into sports, and of those who do, more than a third don't stick with it. That's why the teen launched Shoot to Inspire, a weekend-long basketball camp to teach other teenage girls basketball, have some fun, and build their confidence. The CBC was at Steinbach Regional Secondary School last month to see how things were going at the camp. CBC contributor Aisha Bedela has the story.
1, 2, 3, shoot to inspire!
Peyton Kaler's got a goal.
I've dreamed about a camp like this for years now.
She wants to teach this group of girls how to do this, and this, and this.
Because defense is what wins your game at the end of the day. So we're going to touch on defense, we're going to touch on playmaking and passing, and shooting.
But most of all, she's here to inspire girls to get in the game.
As an athlete who plays sports, I noticed that female drop out of sport super young, and they lose out on opportunities that often guys are able to keep. There's not enough female coaches out there that can lead by example for them. Male coaches often do a great job, but there's something different about seeing somebody that you can relate to in that level lead you in sport.
That's why, at just 17, Peyton created this, Shoot to Inspire, a camp designed to encourage girls to get into sport.
They just want to learn the sport. They want to push their skills to a different level, but they're kind of stuck with this bunch of girls that don't have opportunity.
That's it, here we go!
And so, on this cold January Saturday, Peyton's holding this 2-day training camp for girls from grades 7 to 10.
I was thinking about me at this age, grade 7, 8, just eager to get out there, eager to play, just not having that space without miles being traveled. So The big push for this camp kind of came from how would I have liked to have this opportunity.
The thing is, here in Canada, nearly 62% of teenage girls don't get into sport. Oh, kinda got it. And if they do, 1 in 3 drop out before they hit their late teens. That's the furthest I'll get. But with supportive coaches, opportunities to play, and resources, sports don't have to be a boys-only club. It won't stay. Yeah, it won't stay.
It won't stay.
It won't
That's
stay.
okay. We'll learn for next time.
Yeah.
It's been really good. Yeah, I like doing all like the little kind of drills and tricks they have us do.
You get advice for the future if you want to play more sports, and it's just fun.
So it's also nice to have like kind of a thing where lots of girls can just kind of get to know each other and like have people kind of with there that also are kind of like are in the same place.
Go around. Look for the pass. Perfect. Wait in.
I want them to meet new friends when they go out and play each other, because you are in these little communities everywhere and you play each other from different schools and stuff. I want them to have a friend on the opposing team, not on the same team as well.
It's good because you got to keep those friends, and you could always ask them if they wanted to play basketball like after school or whenever.
So I want friendships, I want confidence in their skills and abilities, just because reputation builds confidence at the end of the day. So the more shots they put up, the more times they pound that ball, the confidence builds, and it translates into their day-to-day lives as well outside of sport. If your confidence is high on the court, your confidence is high in life.
Ayesha Badiola, CBC News, Steinbach, Manitoba.
Great story, Aisha. The Strong Warrior Girls, Anishinaabe singers, performed the Canadian anthem at some Bison sporting events over the weekend. They sang it in Anishinaabe as part of Spirit of the Bison Day at the university. CBC videographer Pabjot Lodi put this story together for us.
Oh, Canada,
what's it like too to hear the national anthem in your own language as well?
Oh, it just melts my heart. It's awesome.
So we're really inviting all those folks and celebrating Indigenous sport here today and really highlighting their accomplishments throughout the year. And then, so we're doing that. And on top of that, we also have our national anthems that are being sung in Ojibwe.
I know, I'm excited.
What was it like to be out there on the ice with all the hockey players?
I was scared of the ice.
It's part of revitalizing our language. And it's getting these young girls to sing in their language, and they're learning their language and speaking their language. It's truth and reconciliation, all part of that.
Were you guys nervous out there? You looked like pros.
No, nervous. I wasn't nervous.
So just to learn more about Indigenous culture and be able to hear the national anthems in Indigenous languages and, being fiddled and really be immersed in the culture. I think it's a great way for us to move forward as non-Indigenous and Indigenous people.
I'm very, 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 very proud of each and every one of them. I'm the proudest teacher in Canada. That's how proud I am.
We mentioned Prabjot Lodi worked on that, so did Gavin Axelrod. Yep. I heard his voice in there. This is Riley Lachuk, and he is the bearer of words of change.
Words of change, yeah.
It feels kind of weird, mushy, and like spring out there.
You can see the condensation on the window behind you, Janet. Another damp day, and I'm calling it more of a reality check on the way, and we'll get to that in a moment. But first, we do have fog advisories in place once again across southern Manitoba, northwestern Ontario, into Saskatchewan. So we're expecting areas of dense fog and perhaps near or zero visibility through the night tonight into the early morning hours tomorrow. Doesn't mean we're going to see fog everywhere, but certainly the risk is there for some dense fog as we get into the night tonight and into the early morning hours. We'll run through some of the numbers on that a little bit later. But looking at satellite radar, yep, we've been stuck under this cloud cover again. Radar picking up some of that mist and some of that drizzle that we've seen through the day today. A little bit of instability still pushing out of northern Manitoba that brought some snow through the day today. But the change really comes by the time we get later in the week. So lingering flurries through the night tonight across northern Manitoba into the early morning hours. Even Barons River could get some flurries into the early morning hours. Otherwise, mainly cloudy, misty, maybe some fog through the night tonight. But as we get into Wednesday, I'm going to draw your attention to the south because this is what our next weather maker here is. Potential to bring the first significant snowfall we've seen in quite a while here to Manitoba. Yes, it's a Colorado low. We love them so much, don't we? As we get into the day on Wednesday, you can see by the evening hours, the first outer bands of this system have moved into Manitoba, starting as rain according to Futurecast. Back behind that, some snow, and that will continue as we get into the later part of Wednesday evening into Thursday morning. So by the time we start the day on Thursday, we're well into the snow here in southern Manitoba. And yeah, so still a little bit of uncertainty on where exactly this system will land and whether that falls as rain or snow. But here's some of the possible scenarios. So right now, most models are indicating either this second or third option in terms of track. This would bring more snow to southern Manitoba and into southeastern Manitoba. What I just showed you was this one here, which was bringing more of a rain event to southeastern Manitoba, snow on the cold side of that low. So still a little bit of uncertainty, but certainly we're going to keep watching these numbers over the next couple of days. Just thought I'd show you this as we get into the noon hour on Thursday, putting most of that precipitation north and west of the city. 16 millimeters of rain for the Portage and Brandon regions, and here's a look at the snow taking us out to that same time period into the noon hour or so. By the time we get to Thursday, about 10-15 centimeters of snow through the southwestern part of Manitoba. So, like I said, still a little bit of uncertainty in the models, but we'll keep watching it over the next couple of days. The airport picking up a little bit of mist and drizzle this hour, +1 with falling pressure. Overnight tonight, temperature around 0 with fog patches developing once again tonight. South winds at 10, and that's what we're expecting as we get into the morning tomorrow. Light winds into the afternoon. 3 degrees, and then Janet, that messy wintry mix moves in to the later part of Wednesday. Thursday is our main event with that snow and rain. A chance of flurries on Friday and temperatures closer to seasonal by the time we get into the weekend.
Thanks very much, Riley.
You're welcome.
People in Brandon started their week knowing a 9.4% property tax hike is headed their way. Council voted in the tax hike on Saturday night. It comes after a city commissioned report from accounting firm MNP showed Brandon taxes were 47% lower than comparable Canadian cities. The budget includes spending on more police officers, an expansion of the police cadet program downtown, and more paramedics, which will allow an additional ambulance to hit the streets. It also includes a water rate increase of almost 75% over the next few years. Bruce Lubke is acting deputy mayor for the city of Brandon. He's also one of only 2 city councillors who voted against the budget. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome.
What was the main reason you did not vote for this 9.4% tax increase?
Well, I think going into the weekend, we all as council members knew it was going to be a sizable increase we were going to put on our residents. My goal going into the weekend was to ensure that we were only going to put in things that I felt were essential. Working in the finance industry and budgeting purposes on a personal level, you get a lot of things that fit into the needs, the wants, and the nice to haves, and we really needed to focus on the things that we absolutely only needed. And I really felt there were some things that snuck into our budget this year that we didn't need to put in this year.
One of them is an incentive to encourage doctors to practice in Brandon. Even over the 4 years, though, that doesn't add up to much of a percentage hike in property owners in their how much their rates will go up. What else could have been left out, do you think?
Well, certainly that was one that struck me. It is, you know, $500,000 over the next 4 years. And as you said, that's maybe not a significant taxpayer increase, but the one thing it does do is does make our Brandon residents pay for doctor recruitment twice, both at the municipal level and at the provincial level. I also think it was likely a little bit premature for a couple of reasons. One, the plan or the program that wants to be implemented is very long in detail, which is the fact that it's not even something that we even know what it's going to look like at this point. And really, if that was something that we felt we wanted to investigate, we could have investigated it first before putting it into the budget. And I also really feel it sends the wrong message to the province, who we want to be good partners with, and the fact that, you know, only 4 months into their tenure, that we don't believe that their doctor recruitment program is going to do the job for the city of Brandon. And I know it's a common practice for rural municipalities. I just kind of felt it was one of those things that really could have waited until we see how the new government's recruitment strategy even is unveiled, for that matter, and how it's going to work.
Acting Deputy Mayor Bruce Lubke, thank you for your time today.
Yes, you're welcome.
Police in London, Ontario are apologizing today to the victim of an alleged sexual assault by 5 former World Junior hockey players. We'll have the latest on the story after the break. Police in London, Ontario today apologized to the victim of an alleged sexual assault by hockey players in 2018. All of the men are now playing professionally, 4 of them in the NHL. CBC's Jamie Strachan has more.
I assure you that under bright lights and intense scrutiny, an apology from London's police chief.
On behalf of the London Police Service, my sincerest apology to the victim, to her family, for the amount of time that it has taken to reach this point.
It's been nearly 6 years since a 20-year-old woman went to London police with allegations of a sexual assault at this London hotel. The alleged incident happened after a Hockey Canada gala and allegedly involved members of the World Junior team in town celebrating a gold medal. In 2019, London police closed their investigation, only to reopen it in 2022.
Upon review of the occurrence, it was determined that there were additional steps that could be taken to advance the investigation.
Last month, 5 members of the team, 4 of them current NHLers, were charged with 1 count of sexual assault. One player faces an additional charge that the other 4 do not. Dylan Dubé, Carter Hart, Cal Foote, and Michael McLeod are all currently on leave from their teams. The chief insisted no special treatment was given.
I'm not a hockey player. I don't know nothing about hockey. This is a sexual assault investigation.
Police said new leads, additional witnesses, and evidence not available in 2019 led to charges, but wouldn't say why it took 6 years to get to this point.
I can't answer that question, I'm sorry.
I can't speak to that.
I can't answer that.
This longtime London criminal defense lawyer called the chief's apology significant.
It does seem to me that when the chief of police comes out and apologizes as many times as he did, that apology is based on there's something wrong inside his house.
London police have faced fierce criticism for their handling of this case.
A specific victim in this case deserves to know the answers as soon as possible. Otherwise, how can we trust this investigation going forward? How can we trust a police or organization that didn't press charges the first time?
It's estimated this case could take almost 2 more years to finally reach trial. Jamie Strachan, CBC News, London.
Alberta Premier Danielle Smith is in Ottawa. She's opening a new provincial office there in an effort to promote Alberta in the nation's capital. But as CBC's Rafi Boudjikanian reports, a lingering controversy got most of the attention.
Protect trans kids! Protect trans kids!
This may not have been the red carpet welcome Alberta's premier was expecting. Opposition to her recently announced transgender policies from the public, but also from Justin Trudeau's only Alberta cabinet minister.
She's taking away the safe space for some young people. What she has proposed to ban young LGBTQ2 kids from being who they are puts lives at risk.
Danielle Smith officially began her Ottawa visit Monday, shortly after announcing her intention to ban gender-affirming surgery for minors who want to transition in her province, prohibit hormone blockers and puberty treatment to anyone under 16, and force minors who want to transition to come out to their parents first.
We just need to take a considered approach on this and make sure that young people are being fully informed.
Opposition to those plans has been vocal in Alberta, some suggesting Smith is giving in to the most socially conservative parts of her base. She insisted she has support.
I've had many conversations with members of the trans community, and it's not a single voice and it's not a single perspective. I want to make sure that young people are not closing off options to themselves prematurely.
Smith says conversations will continue for months before formally introducing the new gender policies this fall. But so far, the conversations haven't included other politicians.
I was wondering if you had any discussion with Pierre Poilievre about these transgender policies.
No, I've not had a conversation with him.
The federal conservative leader himself only waded into the debate when asked by journalists.
It's time for Justin Trudeau to stop distracting and dividing Canadians. Let parents raise kids and provinces run schools and hospitals. That's my common sense approach.
The federal government has said it is considering all options, including a court challenge to counter Smith's transgender policies. Rafi Boudjikanian, CBC News, Ottawa.
King Charles has been diagnosed with cancer. Buckingham Palace says a form of cancer was discovered while he was being treated for an enlarged prostate last month. The palace clarifies the king does not have prostate cancer. He began undergoing cancer treatment today and will not perform any public-facing duties until it's complete. Prince Harry, who quit royal duties in 2020 and moved to the U.S., is expected to fly to the U.K. soon to see his father. Some folks on the East Coast are still digging out from historic amounts of snow. We're going to take you there after the break, and then we'll get more from Riley about the snowfall in our forecast. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. A major storm has left parts of the Maritimes under historic amounts of snow. Eastern Nova Scotia and Cape Breton have been especially hard hit. Many people are stuck in their homes and travel is treacherous. Emergency services have been stalled. CBC's Shayna Luck has more.
In some areas of Nova Scotia, people are digging out from more than a meter of snow. It began on Friday and continued over the weekend. In Cape Breton Regional Municipality and in Eskasoni First Nation, there are local states of emergency in effect. Cape Breton Mayor Amanda McDougall is calling on the military to help. The Premier tweeted he's written to the federal government asking for support. Public Works is moving plows from the western side of the province to the east, which was hardest hit. People are reporting drifts in the streets as high as 8 feet in some areas. On Eskasoni First Nation, it prevented ambulances from getting into the community.
We had 4 calls this morning, and they needed assistance. So our community members were helping out much as possible. So we have quite a few dialysis patients as well. They have to go to the hospital. Some of them haven't had a chance to go to dialysis, so it's really very important.
Some residents have told us they were trapped in their homes, posting photos online of snow completely covering windows and doors. In one Sydney Cape Breton apartment building, residents had to scramble when snow completely covered their ground floor windows and then burst the windows inside in a kind of avalanche. The snow has moved off toward western Newfoundland, but it is losing strength and not expected to hit there as hard. Shayna Luck, CBC News, Halifax.
Wow. And Riley's saying that we have some areas of the province that are seeing snow too.
Yes, parts of northern Manitoba have seen some snow through the day, Janet. Generally 4 to 8 centimeters, maybe some pockets of heavier snow in parts of the north.
Not like Nova Scotia.
Not like that. Not like that. But we do have perhaps some fog moving in again tonight, as I alluded to earlier. Looking at the visibility forecast, and you can see as we get into the morning tomorrow, into the overnight period too, you can start to see the forecast model depicting some of these areas of lower visibility in southern Manitoba. For the morning commute tomorrow, we're looking at some reduced visibility through parts of southern Manitoba. Like I said earlier, doesn't mean we're going to see fog everywhere, but certainly the potential is there for some areas of denser fog. Wanted to show you the forecast snowfall as we get into the rest of the week because I know the numbers stopped working. So they're fixed. As I mentioned, we're looking at, as this Colorado low moves through, 10 to 15 centimeters generally west of Winnipeg, but like I said before, still a little bit of uncertainty in the track. So we'll keep our eye on that as we look at current temperatures right now at about the freezing mark in Winnipeg, Selkirk, Steinbach, and the Forks as well in downtown Winnipeg, 3 in Eli right now. Western parts of Manitoba also sitting around the freezing mark right now, 1 degree in both Swan River and Barons River, and temperatures fairly consistent. Close to freezing for much of the north as well. 0 in Flin Flon, -10 in Lynn Lake, -19 in Dooley Lake. And yeah, we are looking at a little bit of snow lingering through parts of northern Manitoba. For northwestern Ontario, fog patches tonight, risk of some freezing drizzle maybe through the Red Lake region or some drizzle. Otherwise, we're looking at temperatures around -2, -3 degrees. Fog patches, chance of some drizzle through Barons River. Otherwise, a mainly cloudy sky through the southeast and the southwest. Potential for some freezing drizzle through the Swan River region. Chance of flurries in Dauphin tonight, -2. Otherwise, temperatures around -2 for the southwest and the north. We're looking at some light snow through Flin Flon and the Pas. Another 2 centimeters to come for points Thompson and east. Otherwise, light snow -8 in Norway House. And we're going to see that snow really clearing out toward a sunny sky in both Thompson and Gillam tomorrow. Could see a few snowflakes through Island Lake and Norway House. Chance of some lingering flurries through the Pas and Flin Flon, as well as in the Swan River region tomorrow. Otherwise, a mainly cloudy sky, temperatures above 0 through the southwestern part of Manitoba. Temperatures in the southeast also above 0 under a mainly cloudy sky. And same for northwestern Ontario, Janet. Risk some fog patches in the morning and temperatures much closer to seasonal in the 7-day. That's coming up.
Thanks very much, Riley.
You're welcome.
Parts of California are being slammed by a weather event known as an atmospheric river for the second time. It's bringing high winds, snow, and heavy rain.
So this backyard here is just getting wrecked.
States of emergency have been declared in at least 8 counties. Well over 1 million people in the Los Angeles area are under flash flood warnings. More than 200 millimeters of rain has already fallen today. That's almost a foot of it. Winds in excess of 125 kilometers an hour have brought down lines and trees. Canada's public broadcaster announced its first ever national Indigenous strategy today, what it means for you and for storytelling in our country. Next. CBC Radio-Canada unveiled its first ever national Indigenous strategy this afternoon at the Canadian Museum for Human Rights. The strategy's been years in the making, work dedicated to bringing you better stories and to moving forward on the path of reconciliation. This afternoon, I sat down with the First Nation journalist who led the process, Robert Doan.
My goal, my job is really, I look at the National Indigenous Strategy as my marching order, so to speak, and the strategy has 49 actions. And so how do you operationalize 49 actions? It needs to live somewhere. And so that's the goal, is to ensure that those actions happen over the next 3 years.
Okay, let's go back. Why do we even need an Indigenous strategy at CBC Radio-Canada?
I think we've been hearing for a long time. So on the flip side, we've heard, well, why haven't we had one yet? Since 2015, when you think about the TRC, the report coming out.
Action 84, called Action 84, called on CBC Radio-Canada to step up and make a difference.
Yeah, that's right. And then we've seen other institutions develop their own strategies that have been immensely helpful, and it just felt like the time. I think this is the time where we felt ready to be able to deliver a strategy, and essentially what a strategy is, it's a guide, it's a framework. How are we going to move forward to ensure that we can create some meaningful change within the organization, not only to support staff, but also help how we share stories and how to do things in a good way, and also how we relate to communities, First Nations, Inuit, Métis across this country.
I know you've been doing a lot of consultations in community. We've had many CBC Radio Canada employees who are Indigenous working on this with you. Why does everyone look so exhausted?
I think there's when you, in any organization, if you identify if you're First Nations, if you're Métis, Inuit, I know there's always talk about the additional burden. In many ways, it's because we're not only doing the work that we do, there's also knowing and being that connective tissue to our communities, for example.
Sense of responsibility, like we're looking to you.
Exactly. And an organization like ours, where we're not a lot, I think it's 2.3% of this organization, there's not a lot of us. And so, and my approach in the strategy work is when you look at a strategy, it's not just for Indigenous people, it's for non-Indigenous people. It's how we can actually all shoulder the responsibility, how we can operationalize, ensure that whatever we've deemed important in the strategy is brought to life by leaders who care. So that's the I think the key thing here.
So 49 different actions. Which ones are viewers, listeners, the people we serve gonna notice?
Yeah, so the way we've organized it, we had 4 pillars, which I won't get into, but we have 14 objectives. I'd say a good third of the strategic actions are around narratives, as we call them. How do we support journalists in sharing those stories? How do we build authentic relationships? How do we actually ensure that we're recruiting and retaining First Nations, Métis, Inuit staff in a good way into the organization, so they can see themselves reflected in our content, not just the news, but in entertainment and sports, all the things that we do. So it's really it's a big component is the content piece. Will it mean more content? Likely over time. Will it mean better content, better treatment of stories? That's the idea. It's all those things. The most important part, I think, in the strategy is about relationship building. How do we build authentic relationships? We did the engagement sessions across the country. We met with a lot of staff, but I'll tell you, we haven't gone nearly far enough. We have to do more of that. So it's sustained relationship building. Also being present and available to respond to feedback where given, or just to hone in and improve the things that we're doing, but also to be a feedback point for where maybe we're doing things hopefully right. So it's it's all those things. So a key thing is the relationship piece of the strategy.
Really learning and listening.
And
wading into the stuff that's tough.
Right. And admitting when you're wrong and learning from it.
We're all exhausted. I don't know if you've noticed, but the whole country, we're fried. This is tough stuff. Yeah. Why does it need to happen, and why does it need to happen now?
You know, something like this, we talk about a strategic plan, we talk about this guide, as I've been calling it, this framework. You need it now. It doesn't matter where we are. It's almost saying you can't wait for the times to be great, and otherwise it might not ever happen. So to me, it's just necessary, and it's long overdue. And I see this as, and I mentioned this as a starting point, but you want to build something that has permanence. That just becomes a part of everything that we do. That when I'm gone, it just continues. It continues to evolve. And so that when we look back, some of the actions that we put out may bear fruit early. We'll see some early wins. Some things we may not see for 10, 20 years. We'll look back and say, this thing that happened today, we can look back 20 years ago and say, it actually started here, where the seeds were first planted, So that's the way I view it.
Kind of exciting. Robert Doan, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Your 7-day forecast and daily lift are still to come. We will be right back.
Let's have a look at the almanac. And hey, you know what? I have something exciting to show you here because the sunrise this morning before 8 o'clock, 7:56 in the morning was our sunrise and 5:30 was our sunset. So the days are getting a little bit longer. As we look at your day planner for tomorrow, we're looking at 0 first thing in the morning. Watch for fog early in the morning. I did mention that fog advisory in place for southern Manitoba as we head into the morning hours. +1 by noon, light winds, and +3 is what we're aiming for in the afternoon tomorrow. Then we start to see that messy, wintry mix for Wednesday, Thursday, tapering off on Friday. And then, Janet, temperatures really get a bit more closer to seasonal, -9 for a daytime high Sunday, -7 and sunny on Monday. Well, the Winnipeg Humane Society threw its first ever puppy party over the weekend. The shelter is overflowing with puppies, so they wanted to try something new to try to get them into forever homes.
More than 300 animal lovers showed up. Here is your daily lift.
Look at your little manicure.
Well, we have our first ever puppy party, and we're really excited about it. We took a look at the model that the Calgary Humane Society opened up, and they ran about 5 or 6 of them, if my memory serves me right, and they were quite successful. So we had a consultation with them, and then we decided to modify it a little bit for a Manitoba experience, and hence today they're our very first puppy party. You know, we've had an influx of puppies at the start of the year. We've had over 36 puppies in the month of January alone, and that number could change at any moment. We could suddenly get a new influx. So we also have dogs available, but our puppies are the focus for today. So people can come by and see some of these amazing puppies, have an opportunity to meet with them, play with them, socialize with them, and get to know some of the other programs that we have to offer to help them with their purchase of a new puppy.
We're not really ready to adopt a dog right now, but
My dad won't let us.
but we both really love dogs, and I just want her to be comfortable with dogs, and it seemed like a great opportunity.
77% of our puppies that were coming in were because were surrenders, and people couldn't afford their puppies or their dogs because of the cost of living or the cost of health care for their dogs. So we would provide them with the health care they need, give them a check mark for good health, and then we would put them up for adoption. And we would do things like puppy promos, we would do play groups, and now to keep things always fresh and new, where we've got the puppy party happening today. The need is high, most of us are at capacity, and we're hoping to find forever homes for all these amazing puppies.
And in fact, friends, 4 puppies did get to go home yesterday with their brand new families. Hopefully more people come back.
Yeah.
A number of older dogs, cats, and kittens were also adopted. I'd call that a successful puppy party.
Love it.
I want them to do it again and again and again, just so I can go play with the puppies.
Yeah.
Have a great weekend.
See you at 11.
Weekend? It's Monday. What?